All right, today we're jumping right into the Gospel of John, chapter 5, and we're using the Preacher's Outline and Sermon Bible to guide us. Now, this commentary points to a statement Jesus makes here and calls it an earth-shaking, shattering claim. Seriously, something that would literally change everything. So there it is, John 5:18. He was making himself equal with God. This single line is the absolute heart of the whole confrontation. And our source is really clear on this. This wasn't some friendly theological debates. No way. This was a claim so radical, so provocative, that it led directly to a plot to kill him. So let's unpack this. Why was this statement so explosive, and what kind of proof did Jesus offer to back it up? Okay, so what exactly caused this massive uproar? Well, it wasn't just something Jesus said. It was also about what he did. The source material points to two very specific things that everyone listening immediately understood as a direct claim to be God. And here's the thing, our source really stresses, there was absolutely no misunderstanding here, none at all. When Jesus called God, my Father, instead of the usual, our Father, that was a huge deal. Everybody listening knew he was claiming a one-of-a-kind, totally unique relationship. And then, to top it off, he says he's working on the Sabbath, the holy day of rest, just like his Father does. He was claiming the same divine rights. His opponents got the message loud and clear. He was making himself equal with God. So after making a claim that big, one that made people want to kill him, you'd think maybe he'd backpedal a little, right? Nope. According to our source, he did the exact opposite. He didn't back down at all. Instead, he just systematically laid out his case, offering 9 separate proofs to back up his claim. And we can actually group all of these into 3 really powerful themes, or pillars. And these 3 pillars really show you the genius of his argument. It's a perfect progression. He starts with his relationship, this incredible union with the Father. From there, he builds to the authority that flows from that union, and then he finishes with the ultimate demonstration of divine power. It all connects. All right, so let's dive into that first pillar, divine union. You can think of this as the foundation for the entire argument. Everything else is built on this. The first 3 proofs are all about establishing this perfect, seamless unity Jesus claimed to have with God the Father. Proof number 1 is what the source calls perfect obedience. Jesus says the Son can do nothing of himself. Basically, he's saying he never acts alone. His actions are a perfect mirror of what the Father is doing. It implies this constant shared nature, this totally unbreakable connection. Okay, proof number 2 revolves around his great works. The logic here, as the source explains it, is pretty straightforward. Because the Father has this perfect love for the Son, he shows him everything he's doing. So what does that mean? It means the miracles and the works that Jesus performs, they aren't just his own thing. They are the very works of God, just being demonstrated through him. Now, this third proof, this is where the claim escalates big time. Jesus claims the power to give life, even to raise the dead. You have to understand, in the minds of his listeners, this was an authority that belonged to God and God alone. This wasn't just some special ability. It was a power that was reserved for the Creator himself. And really, this whole idea of divine union gets summed up perfectly in a verse from a little later in John's Gospel. I and my Father are one. Our source points out that this is so much more than saying they have the same goal or purpose. No, this is a claim about having the same essence, of being, of the very same nature as God. Okay, so with that foundation of union firmly established, we can move to the next pillar of the argument. Divine authority. Having explained his unity with the Father, Jesus now starts talking about the incredible authority that comes with it. And this next proof is another one that our source highlights as just absolutely stunning. Think about it. Jesus says the Father judges no one. Instead, he has handed over all judgment to the Son. That means the final judge of every person who has ever lived, the supreme court of the entire universe, is not God the Father, but Jesus Christ. So why? What's the purpose of giving all judgment to the Son? Well, the text gives a very clear reason, that all men should honor the Son, even as they honor the Father. It's about equal honor. According to this logic, you can't pick and choose. Honoring the Son isn't some optional add-on if you want to honor God. The two are completely inseparable. The 5th proof gets really personal. It's about having authority over a person's ultimate destiny.
Jesus claims that anyone who hears his word and believes in the Father passes immediately from a state of spiritual death to eternal life. He's saying he has the power to make that happen, right then and there.
All right, proof number 6 gets into something really deep, the very source of life itself. The Father has life in himself. That means he doesn't get it from anywhere or anyone else. He's the original source. And Jesus claims the exact same thing for himself. It's a huge distinction. He doesn't just have life, he is the source of life in and of himself. And that brings us to the third and final set of proofs. We've had divine union and divine authority. Now we get to divine power. These final claims are all about the execution of that authority, but on a massive cosmic scale. So let's wrap this argument up. First, he claims the authority to execute judgment. And he uses this specific title, Son of Man, which is a huge callback to a divine figure in the book of Daniel. The idea is that because he actually lived as a human, he's the perfect judge. But then comes the grand finale, the ultimate display of power. He claims that his voice, and his voice alone, will one day resurrect every single person who has ever died. But that universal resurrection, well, it doesn't lead to the same outcome for everyone. In fact, it leads to 2 very different outcomes. And that's where the source concludes its analysis, by looking at the final judgment that comes right after this incredible display of power. And the outcome is presented as this really stark, unavoidable contrast, a fork in the road. The text talks about a resurrection of life and a resurrection of damnation. And the commentary is quick to point out that this isn't just about tallying up your good deeds versus your bad deeds. It defines the 2 paths based on a person's response to Jesus. Doing good is framed as believing in and committing to him, while doing evil is framed as rejecting him. And this is really the bottom line, the central conclusion of our source material. The argument is that Jesus laid out his case so clearly, with proof after proof, that there's just no middle ground left to stand on. You can't be neutral. A decision has to be made. And that's really the provocative question that this whole analysis leaves us with. According to the source, the claim of equality with God isn't just some abstract philosophical idea to debate. No, it's presented as a deeply personal decision that every single person has to face. So, the question is, does one accept it or reject it? A choice has to be made.